are what make us what we are.
She was going through a lot, and I realized she wasn't happy. My fear was that she was going to drop dead of a heart attack from the stress and the weight, and I was afraid she was going to die.
That arose something inside of me that told me I need to start taking care of me. In order to heal myself, I needed to change my life.
When we're not feeling well, we can usually pinpoint a reason. The flu, a cold, morning sickness. But sometimes the cause is a mystery. From early childhood, Gina Russo was plagued by a strange combination of chronic digestive, respiratory, and skin problems. In high school, she assumed her worsening symptoms were normal for a girl her age. But Gina learned she had a disease that caused her body to react to certain foods as if they were poison.
There were some moments in my life where, especially then, my feelings were, I don't want to live.
I wasn't aware of how her weight was affecting her, how she couldn't sleep, and how all these issues were going down. I didn't know that.
All these things of just feeling like I was a failure. And I think the depression really kicked in tenfold. And I just remember crying all the time. A lady told me that I should be on antidepressants, that I should definitely go see a doctor, and I did. It took me out of that funk, but I think that it wasn't the real solution for the problem. I felt like it was a complete out-of-body experience. That, you know, the person that I was, I didn't know.
I really thought she was just going to have a breakdown or something. It was going to be over, and I could see that coming.
I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada. I lived there with my mom and my brother and my dad. We're a strong Italian family, so we had a lot of spaghetti dinners and, you know, whole beef meatballs. Food has always been a really big part of my life.
We always had our big dinners, and we always ate a lot of food, always, you know.
Food was a part of the way we expressed love for each other. In elementary school, I was very active. Found myself having a lot of different people always in my life, old, young, and just, you know, never a homebody.
She was a go-getter from the beginning. She always seemed to take care of herself, and she would always kind of handle her own things. She was always one to do everything, read on her own, learn on her own. You know, she was smart, really. She was a smart girl.
I've never been one who was afraid to try, not afraid of failure. I always wanted to be involved in something somewhere, and I still do.
On the surface, Gina had a normal, active childhood, but her quality of life was constantly marred by a string of troubling health issues.
She was a little premature, about a month, and she was a baby that, my God, she never stopped crying. She'd have gas constantly. I changed her formula. We change it all the time, but it's still nothing. She always seemed sickly, you know, at off and on. She was always active, always wanting to do stuff, but she'd get bronchitis all the time, and she'd get different allergies or something. I never really knew what it was.
I never really had a healthy immune system at all. I'd always had stomach problems, and I mean stomach problems where more than the food doesn't sit right.
It was never thought of as anything but just, oh well, it was something that she dealt with.
I don't know too many people that have a bag of digestive enzymes. It was like something for every single thing, whether, you know, it was stomach distress, it was going to be diarrhea, or it was going to be just nausea. I would completely mask it with my bag of goodies. That's how I lived. Consistently just taking things to make myself feel better, but never really addressing the problem.
In addition to her digestive problems, Gina also developed abnormally red, inflamed skin, particularly on her hands and elbows. To treat the cracking and bleeding, Gina's mother applied moisturizing lotion several times a day.
We always thought it was from outside things, more or less, the grass and the allergies in the air. She was always outside. I always had to lather her up with something because she always would break out with these rashes. Until she got older, did we realize that food had anything to do with it.
I never had a doctor ever once tell me that they felt my ailments were ever connected to any type of food allergy. Doctors just always seem to give you prescriptions, and that's all I ever got. Never really answers.
2 years out of high school, Gina became involved in a complicated, unhealthy relationship that grew into something more.
I got married when I was 19.
She had a wedding in Vegas.
I just felt like this was a new beginning.
She seemed like she was really enjoying that part of her life.
I felt better. I felt good at the time. It was, it was exciting. It was a new adventure. I still had a lot of digestive issues. I still had a lot of intolerance to certain things, and started to realize some connections maybe to some certain foods, dairy especially.
Gina faced a new set of physical challenges when she became pregnant.
Within the first 2 years of marriage, I had my daughter before I turned 21. During pregnancy, I realized I had still a lot of the skin disorders. The eczema was there, even worse, to this point where they were, really bad on my elbows and almost to the point of bleeding. Pregnancy certainly was not a joyous stage of my life. I had hives that I started to break out in. So I dabbled a little bit in homeopathy. I obsessed with making my own baby food.
Kaylee was her life. And she was fanatical with the baby food.
But Gina's life and health were quietly spiraling out of control. So was her weight.
When I first met my husband, I was normal. I was probably about 140 pounds. Getting married, getting comfortable, and then getting pregnant, I found myself not realizing how much weight I had been gaining. Maybe my metabolism wasn't metabolizing as much as it had been before. At the time of getting married, having a baby, I had gained 100 pounds.
Gina Russo had endured a lifelong struggle with multiple ailments that included digestive distress, chronic skin problems, and difficulty breathing. She was on antidepressants and was also using steroid cream to help ease the inflamed, cracking skin caused by her atopic eczema. Now a new mother in a stressful marriage, Gina sought the comfort that food had always provided. Her weight ballooned to 240 pounds.
As fat as I was, I never saw myself being that fat. The weird thing was I was never not active.
She was in the backyard mowing the lawn. And she had 3 dogs and animals galore, and not losing any weight at all. Just, it was hanging on to her.
It just seemed that this was the way my life was going to be. Always feeling lethargic, always feeling tired, but always pushing myself. I lived off these caramel macchiatos that were venti with extra whipped cream. I was feeding myself it just to get through my days, just because time was limited. Feeding myself at that time, not realizing what I consider now poison. There were some moments in my life where, especially then, my feelings were, I don't want to live. And I just remember crying all the time. A lady told me that I should be on antidepressants, that I should definitely go see a doctor, and I did.
I really thought she was just going to have a breakdown or something from the stress and the weight. She just didn't seem like she was ever going to lose it. It just seemed like it was going to be there. And I was afraid she was going to die, to tell you the truth, really. I just thought that one day I'd just find her out there in the backyard or something, because nothing was changing.
I remember one year, it was really bad. I'd have these breathing attacks, and I didn't know why. I just couldn't breathe. For the life of me, I can't realize why I just dealt with this. You can't breathe. You don't just sit upright, halfway up, halfway down, and just allow yourself to say, okay, I can sleep like this. It'll be okay. I'll sleep like this. I can breathe like this. It just doesn't make sense. I just remember this one particular moment where no matter what position I allowed my body to be in, I could not breathe. I was literally gasping for air, and my daughter at the time was about 6 years old. And I remember waking her up, but trying not to scare her, but letting her know that Mommy had to go to the doctor. Why I didn't just call an ambulance, I don't know. I just remembered, God, please just let me get there. I go to the emergency room, and she's sitting there on my lap, you know, and she's looking at me. She probably was thinking, is my mom gonna die? Why is mommy doing this to herself? Looking in her eyes and seeing how afraid she was for me. That was tough. It was a rude awakening, and I needed to find a way to get back.
Gina became curious about all things related to health and nutrition. She desperately wanted to get off the antidepressants and steroids. She did her own in-depth research and eventually discovered that she had been suffering from irritable bowel syndrome, probably since childhood. IBS is a bowel disorder characterized by chronic abdominal pain, discomfort, bloating, and changes in bowel habits. And the condition can be triggered or worsened by emotional stress. Gina's life fit the profile.
Being as busy as I was being a mom, working full-time, I didn't spend a lot of time focusing on me. I wanted to feel better, and I didn't mean just physical, I meant emotional. I knew that something had to change in my life.
Gina felt the need to start connecting with like-minded people. She found a weight loss support group in her area and began attending meetings.
I took a lot of the material and advice that they gave, and I used it.
Gina has always been self-taught. Whenever she had any issues, she'd go and read. She'd figure it out.
This was the beginning of my education. I was starting to really understand the connection between food and health. That was for sure. I started exercising more. I started going on bike rides and little jogs with my daughter. I still found that I was dealing a lot with stomach distress because I didn't understand just yet that food could be the cause of some of those ailments.
To fully educate herself in healthy eating and lifestyle, Gina got a job in the nutrition department of a local natural food store. She absorbed her training with passion, determined to eventually use her knowledge to help others.
She was always very eager to help a customer, very eager to go the extra mile to find the answer, because she was going to find it, one way or another.
Gina felt invigorated by her new lifestyle and was seeing a gradual but consistent loss in her weight. However, her digestive symptoms and skin disorders continued to plague her. Then, a customer came to her department seeking specific supplements.
She was actually looking for a multivitamin, something that had a complete digestive enzyme inside of it, immune boosting, and I had asked her, is this for you? And she says, no, it's for a friend of mine that was on the brink of death. She went to visit this woman in the hospital and was able to convince this woman to get tested for celiac. Turns out she was positive.
Celiac disease is the most underdiagnosed genetic illness worldwide. What happens is people who have this genetic disorder can't metabolize or process the protein from the grains of wheat, rye, and barley. It destroys the absorptive surface of your small intestine. When you don't absorb nutrients, you go into a state of malabsorption. That's how we get diagnosed.
It was poisoning her. It was actually shutting her body down because she was that intolerant of it. One of the questions I had for this lady was, what were some of the signs that this woman had before she was on the brink of death?
Symptoms of celiac disease mimic symptoms of other digestive diseases, for instance, irritable bowel syndrome. You have gas, you have bloating, you have weight loss, you have chronic diarrhea or constipation. Other symptoms, you have chronic anemia. You could have thyroiditis. You could have accompanying autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis. You could have early onset osteoporosis.
I just was like, my God, that sounds like me. That could have been me. I sent in for a home test, and I was diagnosed with celiac disease.
She was 25. Gina Russo had faced a lifelong struggle with a mysterious combination of chronic digestive problems, respiratory distress, and other ailments that were now threatening her life. And Gina still didn't know what was causing her health to collapse. Then she learned that her symptoms might have a name: celiac disease. Tests confirmed the diagnosis. Gina resolved to learn all she could about the condition.
There are no drugs for celiac disease. It is totally controlled by the patient's adherence to a gluten-free diet.
So here I'm trying to fill my body up throughout my whole life with whole grains enriched with fiber and protein, and really my body had been rejecting it this whole time. I started to live a gluten-free diet.
Transitioning to a gluten-free diet is a whole new lifestyle for people. It is very important that you adhere to this diet, and then your health is back to normal.
I had to start learning about different flour blends that I can use. Brown rice, what was brown rice flour? Different things made from quinoa, different things made from potato starch and tapioca and white rice flour and pinto bean flour, garbanzo beans. What were all these things? You know, it was a whole new world to me, but it was exciting. I'd be up till 2 in the morning studying what different nutritional things I can eat and have. As I changed my dietary habits, I no longer had those stomach issues. The skin disorders almost evaporated, completely gone.
From her family's perspective, Gina had gone off the deep end with her radical new diet.
You have to understand that I come from an old school Italian family where meat, cheese, pastas, I mean, those are our staples. For somebody in the family to go vegan, to not eat meat, oh my God, come on. To not have whole cheese, mozzarella, come on. You know, to not have French bread on the table, to now be offering something made with brown rice and tapioca and pinto bean? Are you kidding me?
Gina continued to lose weight and eat gluten-free, but she didn't lose her passion for tasty foods and cooking.
The biggest challenge I found with gluten-free is still wanting sweets. And as I started to bake more and cook my food more, I started to love it.
I could pick a recipe and I could give it to her, and she could break it down into a gluten-free vegan recipe. She can do it, and it's amazing to me how she does it.
I started bringing food to Whole Foods.
Got good reception at Whole Foods. She began to realize that maybe this was something bigger.
So I found myself baking and selling to a lot of the employees at Whole Foods and enjoying it so much.
She would just light up at the opportunity to teach people how to eat better.
And so it led me and my mom to the creation of Sugar Beets Bakery.
I think she mainly just wanted to share this with, mainly her friends and family. And from there, I think it blossomed to wanting to share it with the world.
It is so imbued with her passion for healthy, tasty living. She's not going to sacrifice the flavor of something just because it can't have white sugar in it.
I'm a true believer of juicing, and every morning I have juice. One of the biggest things I wanted to do was still have some sort of vegetable or fruit in every single product that we did. We started to take some of that beet juice that I had every morning, and I'd save it. And when I started experimenting with my baking, I started using it. And I started realizing that beet juice is really sweet. Beet juice in a brownie. It's like, who heard of that?
And it just seemed to work, Sugar Beets Bakery.
It's the best thing in the world to wake up and know that you're doing something you love.
Over the course of just 2 years, Gina Russo transformed herself from a sickly, obese, deeply depressed woman with debilitating celiac disease to an energetic mom enjoying a happy relationship with her daughter. There were no conventional doctors or drugs behind her recovery. Gina simply started taking good care of her body, enabling it to heal itself naturally. Now Gina and her mother are sharing their passion for healthy, tasty foods with others through their family-owned company, Sugar Beets Bakery.
Gina has turned her celiac disease into something very positive for the rest of the celiac community.
It makes me feel good that I'm making things for people that suffer from different allergies.
She has made a major contribution to the gluten-free market.
I always have energy. I do wake up feeling great. I know the changes I've made are good changes. I think it took me a good 2 years to really lose all that weight the right way. Change is hard. Change is not easy for anybody. Eating healthy is not easy. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor. I'm a foodist, I'm an advocate, I'm a believer.
Vegan and gluten-free products are known to be tasteless and very dry, but her products, I honestly can't tell the difference.
You keep processed foods at bay, you know, stay away from fast food, anything with trans fat, anything in a box, anything that can be left on a shelf for 6 months. I mean, why would you want to put that in your body? If people realized if they stayed away from those things, that their bodies would feel 100 times better.
You don't have to be sick to eat this way. You don't. You just have to know that it makes you feel better.
I really do think that many people have food allergies that they're just not aware of, that our bodies are linked to food in so many ways.
She really fought for her life and didn't even look back. And I think that that is amazing, and she deserves all the success in the world.
I'm proud to be a part of what she's doing because I know she does it to help people. That's what we're all about.
And Gina Russo is just getting started. Bursting with ideas and enthusiasm, she and her mother have plans to expand their bakery's offerings to include a full menu, making healthy eating even more delicious and fun. At 35 and now in full, vibrant health, Gina's mantra remains, food can either kill you or cure you. For more information on Gina Russo and celiac disease, visit our website. I'm Jewel. Join us next time for another remarkable story of personal triumph on The Incurables